Welcome to the Dialing for Dollars podcast, where we talk about life insurance, sales, and everything that happens between the first dial and the death benefit. I'm Corey Mitchell. Each week, I sit down with fellow agents, top performers, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders to unpack what actually works to help new agents win faster. Today, we're joined by Trevor Tipton. Trevor is a veteran of the industry and has just recently joined the IMO I'm with and has been absolutely crushing it. He's an expert in underwriting and applications, and I'm hoping to really help him unlock what's been blocking me in those areas this today. So, Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Corey. It's glad to be here. And interesting topic is underwriting, because things are always changing where it's going. And I think people will be shocked at some of the things you need to do to get good at it. And we just don't think about it. It's all fundamentals.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm really excited about getting into because, like I said, I've lost in this just in 2026, I think I've lost 20 plus deals. And if you think about it, that's $20,000 in submitted business, give or take, that I'm missing out on because I didn't have that buttoned up. So I'm glad you're here. Tell us about your background and where you came from and how you ended up in life insurance and Net Empower.
Yeah, I have a wild story. I've only ever done commission sales and owned businesses my whole life. In 2022, my wife and I exited a business we had that we had built from zero to doing about $10 million a year.
Oh, wow.
We were in a great position. We exited. As you know, we travel full time, got a new RV, started traveling the US. And frankly, I got a little bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was doing some other stuff. And so I started looking around and I wanted a couple things. I can't have a boss. I'm unemployable. I've owned my own businesses too long. Like I'm not wired to have a boss. Uh, I wanted to be able to buy leads. I didn't want to do my own marketing. I wanted to be able to buy leads. Like, hey, do you have a lead factory I can just buy from? And then go from there. And as I went down, right, I looked at high ticket sales, just different stuff. And with us being remote, I saw that insurance, due to COVID, had finally gone fully remote.
Yeah.
Um, and so I came in, and I started at another IMO, who I'm incredibly grateful for. I made some incredible friends. And frankly, it changed my life because of what happened. And so, but I just came in to sell. In my first month, very cocky. I have 25 years of sales experience, very well. And my show rate was 11%.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was getting annoyed, but I was actually working age leads.
Okay.
I wasn't dialing into CRM. I was dialing on my cell phone and I was managing to do about 750 calls a week because I'm like, I want to shorten the learning curve.
Right.
So did all that, got there, good to go. But I sold 5 grand and I'm like, okay, I can make this work. So the second month I worked my way up in leads. I sold 16,000. My second month, I wrote $37,000. My third month, and then off to the races. Wrote on my own pin alone almost 300K my first year.
Wow.
Um, so really got it. But what happened is it was 2 years ago now this month. Out of nowhere, I started getting messages. And long story short, my old business partner had bankrupted our old business in about 18 months.
Oh, wow.
Um, so we were owed a lot of money, and that money was gone. It's no longer there. It just disappeared. And so I decided what I want to do. Do I want to go build that business again? Do I want to get going? So it was just really, I really got after it. It put me in a tough financial position. And so again, I'll forever be grateful to the people I met, that helped me through that process. And then I got to some live events that changed my life. Getting to those live events, getting in the room with the right people. And I'm like, okay, if these people are building it, making this kind of money, I can do this.
Hmm.
I then proceeded, that following month, I wrote $53,000 on my own pen, all simplified issue, placed it, and then decided, hey, I want to build a team. And so last year, I was the number one new writing agent at the IMO. I was there. It was one of the big guys. I spoke on stage at national conference, and I thought I was. If you would have asked me last year at this time, what could I see myself anywhere else, I wouldn't have believed it.
Uh-huh.
But things change and alignment matters. And ultimately, everybody says they have morals and values until money's dangled in front of you, and then you got to decide, do I have morals and values?
Yeah.
Some situations happen that um, I don't think anybody had bad intent, but the impact was bad. And so I had to make a decision, and I quietly started looking, and I knew who Dana was. I'd fought, followed her and seen her stuff, but I met with all the IMOs. I met with a ton of leaders. And, um, as Dana and I met, it's interesting. Dana and I never talked about money.
Yeah.
It was funny at the end. We went, hey, we should probably figure out the money now. Um, but we were really about alignment, goals, where we want to go, what we want to do.
hmm
Um, and then, getting to meet Roger and Brian, I met them in person. I went to a live event. I went to go meet them. And I was like, okay, as someone that's also a fellow believer, and they are as well, it was a big deal to me. And I, because of the situation I was in, maybe some people listening can relate. I was stuck. I had to like not take my team with me. I had to leave a very big agency that was growing
Yeah.
behind in order to make the move. So that's where I said everybody can say they believe certain ways
Yeah.
until it hurts, right? And then you're going to find out what you really believe and think. But so glad I did. I've met incredible people. I'm thankful to be here, and we got everything lined up, and we're rolling now. So I'm super excited.
Yeah. That's awesome. I've seen you're very systems driven. You have a system and an automation for everything. I haven't even seen all of it, but just on the surface, it's very clear to me that you're that systems guy, all about automation, having all the tools at your fingertips so you don't have to just manually do anything. And I'm sure you've done that with underwriting too, right?
We have actually. It's funny you bring that up. It was when Dana and I were first getting going a few months ago, and we were working on like what you guys are all seeing now, and we are talking about stuff I had. We were talking about systems, and I literally sent her a text at one point. I was like, when she'd show me some stuff, I was like, I love it when you talk dirty, and it was about systems and automations and things that
Yeah.
we can do. For underwriting, I've done a couple things. One of the cool things is we've now built it into the Empower website. So now we've taken my underwriting tool. I built an underwriting tool, and it's only going to get better. Um, so as we're getting through there, um, we have an ability for you to find a carrier now and see what makes sense, right?
hmm
Um, you know, will they work with diabetes? Will they work with, okay, but they have diabetic neuropathy. Hey, they have this. So how did I get good at that? So one, I went to every carrier's training on the products. Like
Okay.
I still will. I'll still go sit through the carrier's training. I'll call around an hour. I'll go listen. And then you got to be a little bit of a nerd if you want to be really good at it.
hmm
You got to go like read the underwriting guides.
Okay.
And then what I did is I built an AI underwriting tool. At the end of last year, we've now got it refined that we can type in, hey, this is what's wrong. It's not doing it for pricing. It's for so you understand why. So what we did is we took all that, we put it into I worked with Dana and we put it in, and now we have it built into the Power site. So one of the cool things is everybody on the team now gets access to it. I'm not charging for it, and it's there. And you can do it by finding a carrier or by finding a condition. Um, but it's the big thing with underwriting is one, getting the client to tell you the truth,
hmm
and
Yeah.
two, understanding you know, comorbidity, right? How does the stuff stack at that carrier?
Yeah.
Um, and then the other one, most agents just aren't willing to do. Pick up the phone and call underwriting. Like I will call underwriting on the phone with the client so they hear it.
Okay.
Hey, if it's during business hours, hey, we're going to call the carrier right now. I want you to hear this. We're going to ask them, right? And if I know it's a carrier that I can get on pretty quick with, some we don't,
Yeah.
I'll get them on the phone so then they can hear, hey, I have a client with this situation. What do you think? Well, I did that enough times that I'm like, okay, there it is. I got it. It's through there, right? So, because we need to know, are they going to accept it? Are they going to grade it? Is it a conditional? Because it
Yeah.
depends on how it works. Are they going to decline it? So we
Gotcha.
want to know those four lanes and what it's going to do.
Right. So with your tool, like Toolkits works really well if you enter the medications because then it'll pick out the conditions. Does your tool work
Uh-huh.
similarly, or is it better to enter the conditions they have, not necessarily the medications?
You can do both. So
Okay.
it is what it's really understanding is example. I have a 70-year-old female smoking, non-insulin diabetic, but also has COPD,
Okay.
right? So we can put the conditions in, and then it's going to tell us what it will do. So I'm going to share my screen here. I got it pulled up,
Good.
and that way I can kind of give, I'm going to give the people a little tease of what they can get with it. And I think it's a good training way for people to learn here.
And a good reason
Um,
for people to come join us too.
yeah, like this doesn't exist. Like you guys understand, there is, Dana didn't believe it when I sent her how many files it took to build this.
Uh-huh.
There is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of documents underwriting this engine. Okay.
Okay.
So example, so we have Find Me a Carrier. You get this whether you're on my team, Corey's team, any of the leaders that are part of the power group, you get this. Okay. So example, we have a female. Okay. She's 72. She's diabetic, right? So right, you start seeing, hey, diabetes, what happens, right? Age. The big thing is understanding conditions. Okay. So let's talk about this. So Aflac, hey, diabetes alone, not drug listed, complications tier, right? So you got to go look, it's telling you, go look at their complications tier if you're going with Aflac, right?
Okay.
Say you're going with AMAM. Hey, they have to be older than 35. They have to have started insulin over, 50, right? If it's
Mm-hmm.
under 50, it's going to be an ROP, right? If they have any shock or, neuropathy or anything, it's going to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as you add all the conditions, right? So now we go, let's add COPD in. Let's make them a little messed up, right? Okay, hey, I have a couple carriers that'll work with them. But there's also conditions, right? Like, hey, will these conditions work with them? Okay. So as
Okay.
we're going through, it's there. You can see it. Now, the big one where you're going to start learning is this. This is basically every major condition there is. Okay.
Okay.
Like it exists. Okay. So let's go to bipolar disorder. Okay.
All right.
Right. You can start looking at who will work with bipolar. Wow. Okay. So you have to understand the GTL, but that's a guaranteed. Mu is critical advantage, right?
Yeah.
National will consider it. Royals will consider it, but Aetna, Ascendo, Aflac will look at it, right? So I'm like, okay, hey, I know that's there. And then we have conditions, right? So Aflac says bimolar peds not drug listed, individual considerations, right? So
Okay.
now you're going to go pull up the carrier underwriting guide with the drug lists, right? You can also use Insurance Toolkit to understand what's there. Hey, it's going to tell you what's available and when. And it's going to say read rule, and then it's going to tell you, hey, anything with an IUL or a term or anything like that, they're not getting accepted, right?
Okay.
Because they have that. But, what do we deal with a lot of today's day and age? Diabetes, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's different kinds, right?
Yeah.
Gestational, were they just pregnant? Do they have gout with it, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of carriers that work with gout. Hey, is there conditions or preferred? We got it. All right. Well, what if they have neuropathy? Ruh-roh, George, they got neuropathy, right? But it's going to tell you, hey, they can't have gout. Their A1C has to be less than 8.5. They have to be diagnosed after 35, non-smoker, no ER visits, right? It's going to walk you through the why. So
Okay.
then you really are talking with your client. You can understand, hey, what's available. Okay.
So does
So
this
as
breaking
you
it down
go,
by carrier and product or just carrier?
uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, carrier
All right.
and product, right?
Okay.
So example, Transamerica Immediate Solutions is one versus, hey, Transamerica Final Express Select. It'll give them there. Now, for those that don't know, Transamerica just also came out with a preferred rate. You're not getting a preferred rate on neuropathy, but it's there.
Okay.
But as you go through, you can see like, hey, what if they have dementia? Right? There's a whole right. You're going guaranteed issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Dementia is one of those things that's there. And as you write enough policies, it's there. Now, what I did is instead of watching Netflix, instead of right watching another baseball game, which I love baseball, I love football,
Huh?
I read carrier guides, right? Like I
Yeah.
went and read the underwriting guide to understand, hey, I want to be the most help for my client.
Right.
And for me, it's almost a game. Like I genuinely want to get my client the most amount of coverage for whatever their budget is.
Right.
right? So if their budget's $50, $100, $200, $500, I don't care what it is. I want to give them the most amount of coverage I can that has the benefits they want.
Okay.
So as they go through, they have that ability. So now you can be like, hey, right? Like female 72, right? Right? Oh, hey, TIA, nope, right? Like, hey, I got to start looking at stuff. I got to spell dementia, right? Right? You can see, hey, ethos is conditional. Maybe they'll give them a guaranteed issue, right? Moo will give them critical advantage, maybe,
Okay.
right? Seco will do a guaranteed issue. Gerber will consider it a guaranteed issue, right? So we're going to learn what they have and what they don't have. But
Mhm.
what it's done is, as you type it in, you can understand why it won't take them.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like you struggle getting them to give you the whole truth?
I'm sure that's probably part of it. It seems like I run into people a lot of times. They're like, well, I don't remember all my medications and they're not handy to go grab. Or because a lot of times we'll just get into any mild or major health concerns and then we'll just go straight to the medications because that usually pulls them out. But if they don't have all the medications handy, then it makes it a little tougher. Or they're just on a little bit of oxygen, right? So they always seem to forget something or withhold something thinking it's going to, get through. Um, but I'm legitimately trying to get as much information as I can. Maybe it's just the way I'm wording it and the talk track. I think you've even mentioned that, we don't lie to our doctor, we don't lie to our insurance guy because both of those things have negative consequences for you if you do, or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
you know, with
Yeah, I'll share what I do there. You want me to share
yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, let me real quick with so can a new agent
Yeah.
just use a tool like this or build their own AI with carrier guides to do
They're
the
not
underwriting
going to
form?
build
Or
their own. They're not going to build their own AI. So it took me months to build this,
Mhm.
right? This is a lot of work because it's all directly to our exact products and carriers.
Mhm.
And I had to train it, right? I
Sure.
had to train it to understand what it does on the back end, right?
Okay.
Like, so we've driven it through there, what it does. So that's why it's such a valuable tool. And the reason I did it is because I had so many new agents that wanted to know the why, right? So
Yeah.
as you saw, it's also going to give you the why. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important. But no, a new agent shouldn't be trying to do that. You gotta go make money first.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean, so they don't have if they don't work for Empower. I mean, I think the only people who listen to this podcast right now are in Empower, but maybe not. If they're working with somewhere else and they don't have that tool, I mean, what do they have to understand about underwriting to be effective at this job?
they're going to have to call the carriers, right? They're going to have to read the underwriting guides and they're going to have to work on that. Like it's a skill you can learn, right? People learn carpentry, people learn plumbing, people learn how to be an electrician, how to be a welder. You got to learn how to be an underwriter too. So you got to think of it like a trade, just like you're learn one of those other trades.
Sure. Okay. So what kind of what talk track do you use to make sure that you're getting the most honest answers from your prospects?
So a couple of things. I explained to them up front what the 2-year contestability period is.
Mhm.
So I'm straightforward with them. For if you're a brand new agent, listen to this and you don't know what that is, let me explain. Every single solitary carrier on the face of the earth has written into their contract that if something happens in the first 2 years, it's a contestability period, which gives them a chance to make sure that you told the truth. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, in today's digital age, it's almost impossible to get something by now.
Yeah.
So, but back when they were doing fully underwritten, paper
Mhm.
apps, it was a little bit easier to do that. So that's where it came from, but it still exists. Okay. And here's what's going to happen. If you lie to them and don't answer honestly, your claim will not be paid. That is the truth. And I want to scare them a little bit because I want their claim paid. Like
Yeah.
I want them to tell the truth. And if they withhold information from us, they're going to get declined anyways. And here's the two big things, and I'll role play with you here a little bit, Corey, like you're my client. Okay. So say you've gone through your conditions. So I got two important questions here, Corey, as I try to find the right carrier for you. First, you sound like you're the person that really wants to make sure this is paid, right? You're not putting into this just to, make sure like your family doesn't get that money. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. Well, here's the situation. If we don't tell the truth in this, okay, the carrier has a right to not pay your claim. Well, what do you mean, right? Like they'll get
Yeah, yeah,
scared.
yeah,
Yeah, listen, as long as we tell the truth, they have to pay it.
yeah,
It's in the contract. They have no choice in the matter. But if you don't tell the truth, they have the right to contest it. Okay.
yeah.
So when, I joke professionally, there's a few people, just don't lie to them, Core. All right. Please
Yeah.
don't lie to your attorney if you ever need one. Whether they're helping you with something or they're protecting you for something, they can't protect you if they don't know the truth.
Right.
Second, if you're sick, don't lie to your doctors and nurses. They can't get you better if you're not telling them what's wrong. Like, don't grit it out. And third is don't lie to your insurance agent.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want to make sure your family gets that $30,000, that $100,000, that $1 million of tax-free money that we're building into this. I want to make sure they get it.
Mhm.
So, right, I promise that I'm going to go find you the best carrier at the best value that gets you the most coverage and the best benefits. Corey, can you promise me that you'll tell me the truth here?
Yeah, yeah. I want to make sure they
Right.
get paid too.
Right. So I ask him to like promise me. I'm literally like, hey, I promise I'm going to do my job. Just promise me you'll do that. Because
Yeah.
guess what? When someone agrees to promise you, the amount of when I switched to that, and I've refined how I say that to that.
Mhm.
As I done that, I get it there. I'll even say pinky promise because then it makes it fun. Like, hey, I pinky promise I'm going to find it to you. In
Uh-huh.
so much, I'm going to share my screen with you, Corey, and I'm going to show you the pricing in all the carriers, right? Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
show it to you so you know I'm getting you the best carrier for the best price.
Yeah.
Okay. But, but if you don't tell me the truth, you know what might happen, Corey? Well, I might go to the wrong carrier and I might make you spend more money and get less coverage. You don't seem like the person that wants to do that, are you?
No, no.
Right. So, and it's true, right? Some carriers, depending upon what they accept and they don't,
Yeah.
they're going to charge more money. I don't want my client to have to pay more money. I want them to get a great product at a fair price. And that's why we're brokers. We work with some of the best carriers in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I want them to understand that. And when they hear that, right, they're going to start understanding, okay, hey, I need to tell them the truth. Like they start telling me stuff that doesn't even apply. Like I have people telling me stuff. They're like, "Oh no, what about this?" I'm like, "Well, I take vitamins. I take right." Like they're telling me their exercise regimen, right? Like I get the whole thing out of them,
Yeah.
but it's because I don't, right? I don't want to go to Mutual of Omaha when I should have gone to Transamerica. I
Right.
don't want to go to Foresters when I should have gone to AmAm, right? I don't want to go to Aetna when I should have gone to Aflac, right? Like I want to make sure that I'm getting the right product for my client, but it's also getting them the most coverage I can get them with the best benefits.
So do you lead? So do you kind of like, do you use toolkits at all, or do you just use this
Oh
tool? And
yeah,
then, okay.
both because I don't have pricing if it's not in Toolkits.
Okay. So do you lead with then when you put on in your information and your confidence truthful, do you just lead with the least expensive one, or do you make recommendations
No,
based on the
no, because the
products
least
and
expensive one might not give them the benefits they want, right? It's not about finding the cheapest one.
right?
It's about finding the one that has the best price for the most coverage with the best benefits.
Okay.
Okay. Do they want living benefits? Do they want, right? Like Transamerica and AmAm, right? They have a concierge rider.
Hmm.
Okay. You can, if you use those companies, you can get up to $25,000 within 72 hours if it's outside of the 2-year contestability period. They're the only two carriers that have that, concierge rider. For most families, that's a big deal. That's how they're going to pay the funeral because you're not getting your money in 2 days. They have to have a death certificate. There's stuff that has to happen.
Yeah.
But those two companies have a really beneficial rider that's there. Do I know they're going to service my client? Do I know they're financially strong? I want it to be the best product for my client that fits their budget,
Hmm.
right? And that's what it's going to be, right? And I don't want them to overpay, but I'm also, right, if I know like, oh, hey, this carrier is cheap, but they fight claims. They're hard to deal with.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 3-hour rate if we have to call. That's not the best value for my client.
No.
That's not what our clients want, right? I want our clients to have a great product at a fair price.
Right. So do you do any kind of testing with your client to make sure that So you might find that Mutual Omaha has the best policy with the best benefits for their particular situation, but they can't operate a cell phone to save their life. Do you, what's your process there for
Yeah, we have to have
kind
that
of pre-vetting that?
conversation. Yeah, like, hey, one of the questions I love to ask is, hey, in today's day and age, we know how much fraud there is in the banking world with credit cards and banks and all that. Oh, yeah. Half the time somebody's had it happen to them. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, hey, so Corey, our carriers basically only work on EFT now because it's so much secure. So if we can get you approved today and we do move forward, are you going to use a checking or a savings account? Okay. Do you have that online banking info on your phone, or do you need to like grab a checkbook? How do you feel about that? Okay. Right. So I'm going to feel out like that question. They're
Sure.
going to tell me, hey, do they have, if they got a banking app on their phone, they can get a 6-digit code.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So now if they start saying, well, I got it on a bank statement somewhere and Mary doesn't know, and I got a flip phone still. Okay. Well, then that we got to now, fortunately, we have a couple carriers we can do some voice approvals on, but I'm not trying to go there first.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good valid point. I mean, sometimes it's just not even worth trying to deal with the technology thing, but you have some methods to kind of pre-vet them to make sure
Yep.
they can follow you down that path. I've lost deals there because I couldn't get them to be able to sign the application and had to pivot. And by the time you pivot, sometimes people they're just worn out and they can't continue going on. Um,
Yeah, that's going to happen time to time, unfortunately.
yeah, no, that's that's valid. What do you do with I don't know how your system works, your AI system, but I love Transamerica. I think their
Yep.
FE Express product is probably my favorite one in the entire lineup. But I've gotten so many false positives from Toolkits, like, oh yeah, they'll approve, and you go to apply, you do the full application, and they're declined, and you don't know why, and then you try to pivot, and they're like, well, let's just do this later, and then you're done. The sale's lost. Like, what is how
That
do new
that's
agents
what
avoid
we've
that kind of
built
stuff?
in where we were showing is it's going to like our tool calculates the comorbidity. So as they're looking at it, right, with Transamerica, the big thing with FE Express, by the way, shout out for giving us a preferred rate now too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So now we have a standard rate and a preferred rate, so it's competitive. So I can put it in even more healthy people's hands. Um, so as we go through and we look at it, right? I want them to understand that, right? With Transamerica FE, it has to be separate. Okay.
Hmm.
If it's a kidney issue with diabetes and then they had a heart attack and then COPD, you can actually stack those three and they'll give them a standard rate
Yeah.
because they're three separate things. You got to go into the guide and look. So that's where when it'll say conditional and
Uh-huh.
it'll tell you, hey, this is why it'll take it or this is the reason it won't.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So you really have to, brush up on what comorbidities are, because diabetes is a kind of a precursor to a lot of things. And
Correct.
so it seems like when that is stacked with like heart conditions, it's a no go. Well, maybe that's not accurate, but that's so.
For
What do
most
you see?
carriers, it is, but we have a couple that work with it.
Okay, got it. Now I saw you post something the other day on Instagram. It was a person who had just gotten off of felony parole a couple of weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Do, where does that come into play with your tool and underwriting in general? And like, how do you account for that because that never really comes up until you're at the end of the application.
Because up front, I'm asking them, right? Like my questions I'm asking up front is like, I want to know, like, hey, I ask them, like, so we're going to have some lifestyle, some medical, right? And some financial questions because
Mhm.
I want to make sure we're going down the right road. The financial is, I want to know, can they sign a 6-digit code,
Yeah.
right? Lifestyle is, hey, um, if you're a female and they're under 50, are you currently pregnant? You can't get life insurance if you're currently pregnant. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
did
can't
not
get
know
it.
that.
Doesn't exist. They won't. The day after you have your child, you can get it. While you're a pregnant, carriers will not issue life insurance.
Oh,
Basically, it's like there's a one off there, but like you can get accidental different stuff, but you can't get life insurance if you're pregnant, right? Hey, I need to know. Have you been to prison? Have ever been on parole? Have you had any DUIs in the last 5 to 10 years? I just ask them, right?
Hmm.
Because that's our job as an underwriter, is to find out, right? And then I also upfront, I've already known, hey, have you been shot? Have I've seen if they've gotten quotes. I'll ask them why, just straight up, hey, how come you didn't go with that? Were you declined, or you just didn't think it was enough value? I need to know the truth here, right? And I
Yeah.
tell them they got to tell me the truth because I can't help them if they don't.
Right. So if they've been declined, a lot of carriers won't even entertain it for a year, right?
Yeah, it depends on who it is. So
Sure.
again, you gotta look at that, and it's in our underwriting tool. Like, hey, right? So like if you go apply at Ethos and you decline, you got to wait a year. If you go apply at Trans and you decline, you got to wait a year. Go apply at America, you decline, you got to wait a year. Some of the other carriers are only 6 months. It depends on the carrier.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. It's interesting. Like even the I have a case I'm working right now, and I was kind of wanted to ask you about this, but I'll just throw it out there. He said been declined by other companies because he's a bad character. I don't know what that means.
So I would just have the very transparent conversation with him.
Yeah, we
Corey,
will. He's a friend of
right?
mine.
Yeah. Like, hey, I love that you're telling me that, but hey, I need to know. I want to make sure I go to the right carrier,
Yeah.
right? And I have certain carriers that look at things, and then you got to tell me what a bad character was. Listen, we all have a past. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you, right? But I can't help you if I don't know everything that happened and when it was, right?
Yeah.
Was there a felony or a misdemeanor? Hey, it was a felony. Okay. How long ago was it? When I need to know the year you're convicted. Okay. Are you still on probation or parole? Yep. Okay. And then I can make my decisions based upon that. But they
Okay.
got to tell us the truth because, right, he's got down the road where he's tried, but he hadn't told everybody the truth.
Sure. Yeah. That's fair. So what other components do you consider when you're choosing a carrier? After you've gone through the health questions, you determine that these three carriers will meet their needs. They can sign via text or e-sign or voice. What other considerations do you look at when choosing a carrier then?
I want to know that um, one, they're a great company, which is who we partner with, so that makes it a little bit easier.
Hmm.
Right? Like I want to know, hey, enough about the company. I want to be able to say, hey, American Amicable, they're a 125-year-old company based in Waco, Texas. They're in the same building they started in. It's a way bigger building now, but they're in the same building they started in, right? I want to be able to say that, hey, we all, Mutual Omaha, they did the commercials for years, right? Hey, Transamerica, the big triangle building in downtown San Francisco, right? Part of the reason we partner with them is I want that brand recognition, right? I want to be able to let them know, hey, a little bit about the company. And this is why I like the company, right? This is why I like doing it. Hey, if we need to call them, they're easy to deal with. If we want to do this, it's there, right? So for me, I try to keep my business, with my core carriers. But again, it's tools in a toolbox, right? You
Hmm.
have screwdrivers, hammers, wrenches, sockets, but you also have specialty tools. So that's why we're brokers. So in certain situations, I can move it to there, right? And that's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Awesome. So anything else about underwriting that a new agent should know to try to just
Stop
prevent?
over, stop overthinking it.
Okay.
Stop overthinking underwriting and just go run so many appointments that it forces you to get good at it.
Got it.
Right? You talked about the deals you lost. You would probably agree that you're way better today at underwriting than you were at that first deal.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Right?
I
Why?
lost
Because you
one.
gotta have you
Yeah.
gotta have bats.
Yeah. No, you have at bats, you got to have experience. Is there any way to shorten that curve? I mean, if I go out and
Yeah,
read
run
all the
more
guides.
appointments.
Yeah.
Right? Run more appointments than everybody else, and you can do that. Because that's
Yeah.
what I did. Right? I just ran enough appointments and sold enough that I was like, okay, I got declined. Let me look at it. Example. I literally had one last night. I'm trying to help a client's husband, and as good as I am at getting the truth out, he had his A1C under control, and it was good, like to the point they were taking him off the metformin,
Yeah.
but then he slipped and he hadn't been as good lately, and his last A1C rating was 8.4. So the
Huh.
stuff I was trying to get him, I couldn't do because it was over 8. Right.
Got
And I
it.
was like, hey, I need to know your A1C because what you're telling me and what this isn't there. It goes, oh, well, it did go up. I'm like, well, that's why I can't do anything with that.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. So you really have, I mean, you really have to just get down to brass tacks. If you're at that point though, they've more or less said yes. Well, I guess it depends on your process. I typically do underwriting early in the call just to kind of use it to understand who it is and then build some rapport through that and then get into the why and things like that after that. But
Yeah, see, I'm doing the why on the front end. The why has to be the front end. The
yeah,
underwriting has to be the back end.
got it. What's the biggest reason for not going to waste time underwriting
Because
if you can't get a why or what's the
yeah, because if I don't get a why out of them, they're not going to do it anyways.
yeah
I'm fortunate. I've built a big enough business. I've done well enough. Um, I only want to work with clients that also want to work with us. I'm not here to like be a quote thrower. Like
yeah
that's not my job, right? Like I'm not here to do that. Go online and get a quote and find out you don't qualify, right? I'm here to get my clients qualified for policies. So that's my goal. But if they don't have a why, when you get to underwriting and there's any kind of hiccup, if you haven't gone through their why, they're not gonna push through that pain point. But if they have a reason and they understand that, hey, I'm doing this for my spouse, I'm doing this for my kids, I'm
hmm
right, I'm doing this because I need living benefits, I'm doing this because I'm trying to build my retirement, then they'll deal with the headache of it.
sure yeah that makes sense. And if the emotions are strong enough, yeah, they'll keep going. That makes sense.
Yeah, and we listen. If we cannot find them coverage, okay, and
Mhm.
it comes down to they can only get guaranteed issue, no one else can find them coverage.
Right. Yeah.
With the breadth of carriers we have, if we can't find them coverage, no one else can.
Right. Yeah. One thing I'm concerned about in the back of my head is that I put somebody into a GI policy when they probably could have qualified for a level somewhere. I just didn't know enough to find it. I mean, do you
Right.
see that a
So
lot with new agents?
yes, because they're too scared to ask the health questions.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna ask them, how much money do you make? So I'm gonna ask them financial questions. I'm gonna ask them health questions. Like, um, I'm not doing this because I want to be invasive. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that we get them covered and their family protected.
Got it. All right. Do you do you see new agents who I've also lost deals in the application where the application fails or like Sika, for example, they have a voice recording, but they require like a HIPAA code. I think I've kind of got it figured out now, but I have a heck of a time getting through their application and understanding everything that's on the screen in front of me, even though I can read, but they're asking for things in such a way that just doesn't seem like it makes much sense. And I'm getting stuck on a page and I can't go forward and I'm not really sure why. And they've made some improvements now where they have error messages for things that are not working. But like, do you see new applications or new agents failing in the application themselves? Because I've lost
Yeah,
several
because they
deals there
didn't. A
too.
lot of times they also didn't go through the training. Take Sika out of it, right?
Yeah,
Like, a lot of the carriers have the training to teach you how to do it. That's what you got to go do. That's what I did. Like I
yeah,
went. I don't even if I add a new carrier, I don't go blindly try to write them without like going through their portal, going through the process, and half the carriers now even have practice websites for us to learn how to underwrite on.
yeah.
So you got to be willing to go do that, right? Just like, a basketball player is willing to go into the gym and make free throws. A golfer is willing to go to the driving range, right? That's our reps. That's what we have to do to get better at our business.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are the carrier trainings on the carrier websites or on
Yeah, they're actually, Dana
IMOs?
also has them listed in Empower.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of those, but it's like they get off on a different topic and they don't actually go
Yeah,
through the application or they
yeah, but
have.
you can go to the carrier website, specifically the main ones you write, and you can get help.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Any other pitfalls that new agents are making when it comes to underwriting and losing business because they're just not experienced enough to do it?
Yeah, they start asking invasive questions before the why. You
Okay,
haven't built any rapport with them yet. They
sure.
don't trust you yet, and you're asking them the most intimate details about their health. The other thing you have to do is let them know, like they'll tell you, "Hey, I'm 68, insulin diabetic, COPD, blah blah," but I'm healthy because in their head, everybody wants to think they're healthy,
Yeah.
right? And it's not. I don't want to discourage them. I have to say, hey, this is just based on a rating from the carrier.
Uh-huh.
So, but too often they'll also, if they're not on the phone, if they're texting a client, they ask way too deep of questions on text for health. I don't care what
Sure.
they say. Just I need to get on the phone with them.
Yeah.
I don't even care about health questions in a text message when I'm setting up with a client.
Yeah. Right on. Do you do your meetings on phone or Zoom, or do you have a preference?
I probably do 90% on phone
Okay.
and 10% Zoom, like a lot of my advanced market stuff. But even when I'm on the phone, like I'm using Crankwheel, I'm sharing my screen. I've sent them pictures, they're seeing the stuff. But
Sure.
a lot of clients have backlash and they don't want to get on Zoom now.
Yeah.
So, and there's people, I only do them on Zoom or I only do phone. I don't care. I give them both options and see what makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Um, yeah. Well, I think this was incredibly helpful in just trying to get into just a clearer sense of the underwriting process and how to simplify it. And if you want to have access to Trevor's awesome tools to make the job easier, just go get in touch with us. Um, Before I let you go, Trevor, one last thing. If somebody wants to buy a policy with you, come work for you with you, or just engage with you, how can they find you?
Built Different Financial Group on socials. IG, it's Trevor, unfortunately, double underscore Tipton, but just put in Trevor Tipton and you will find me everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, we can find it. I put out personally content every single day. You're going to find out I travel full time while doing this remotely with my wife. You'll see lots of pictures of my dog, but you'll also see a lot of trainings I've done. I'm trying to put out value to the industry. I want to help the industry as a whole get better. Um, example, we got an email from Mutual of Omaha today. Everybody did
Yeah.
that basically was like said, "Hey, we're getting so much bad business. You need to look at the business you're writing." Well, that tells me there's a bunch of bad business going in and people need to look at it, right?
Yeah.
So I want to bring value to people. I want to help them make positive, impactful differences in people's lives. It's why we're built different. I know what it's like to go through pretty crazy stuff. Um, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, right, would I have built an insurance agency? Absolutely not, right? I was set. I built what I did. I needed what I do. I was in a good spot, but God has a way of putting you in a position where you can go help others. So I'm
Yeah.
thankful for it. I'm very grateful to be part of Lasting Mark and part of Dana's team, and excited to see what the next year brings.
Awesome. And I did want to touch on get more of your input on the RV lifestyle. What are there other businesses you looked at that would allow you to do the same thing, or why did you land
Uh-huh.
on insurance versus high ticket or some of the other?
Yeah, again, I want leads. I don't want to do the marketing myself. I've done it. I ran my own business. I did all the marketing. We spent tens of thousands of dollars a month on marketing. I know what it takes to really do it. Um, I wanted systems. And again, it gives me the opportunity to really help people. What we're doing, you're required to have auto insurance. And if you file a claim, it costs you a ton of money. We're required to have health insurance. Don't even get me started on what that racket's about.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, the only thing we're not required to have insurance on in today's day and age is ourselves. And ourselves is the most valuable commodity we have.
Yeah.
So, and then now we have products where we can show people how to pay less taxes on their retirement, how to build way more cash value, how your money's not locked up till you're 59 and a half. There's so many cool things we can do now. That's why I chose it was the opportunity to do health, life, and retirement.
Awesome. Are you doing all three in your business?
Yeah, we will
Are you
have
doing
all
health
three
and Medicare?
verticals built out. Yep, we're going to be doing Medicare as well. We've brought some agents on that are going to be building that business side out, and we have all three verticals. I'm really good at the advanced market. Got trained by some pretty incredible people, so I'm very fortunate there, and we have some great partners. So I do quite a bit of retirement there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening to the Dialing for Dollars podcast. If you enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, and share with another agent who's still dialing leads at 8 p.m. Have a good one.